My friends, oh, you will like me so much. You will get that business. You know, all my life, that business has never had problems, but in the last 7 or 8 years, it's been tough. With the EPA, with all of the different difficulties you're going through, you are going to like Donald Trump, and all of the workers that get put to work, they're going to love Donald Trump, so that's good. And I just heard from Rocky Blyer. He endorsed me. I said, can I say that? I said, yeah, I love tough people. And he's a tough cookie, and he just endorsed us. We have great relationships, and it's really been something. We've had some great poll numbers come out just today. Rasmussen is 5 up nationwide, and I guess you probably saw Ohio is doing great. We're 4 or 5 up. The Fox poll came out last night, and doing great. Pretty much we're doing great where we have to do great. Florida's been terrific. And I think we're going to have a big, big victory right here in the state of Pennsylvania. And I think it's going to be a big victory. I went to school here. My children went to school here. So it's a very, very special place to me. I also want to thank the Marcellus Shale Coalition and Ohio Oil and Gas Association and the West Virginia. Oh, that West Virginia. What a victory I had there. It was almost like running on a post. All of the folks in West Virginia, they have been so great. They have been great. Right from day one. And now it helped when Hillary made the statement, I'm going to put all those mines and miners out of business. That was not a good statement to make. Maybe she knows something I don't know. But your organizations represent tens of thousands of jobs for hardworking Americans. Let me also recognize a really good friend of mine, an amazing guy, Harold Hamm. Where's Harold? He's here someplace. There he is. What a great guy. I spent a half an hour with Harold and dozens of hours. I mean, I spent so much time with all of these different folks, but I learned more in a half an hour with Harold Hamm than I made with all of the consultants put together. That I can tell you. But they tell me that a Republican can't carry the state of Pennsylvania. Wait till you see what happens here. Wait till you see. And I don't believe it, and you don't believe it, and I think you're going to have yourself not only a victory, but a really big one. That's going to go a long way to tell you what a wonderful industry you're in. And I have to say, do whatever you can to get out the vote November 8th. Do whatever you can, because a lot of things are happening, a lot of forces are happening, whatever you can. So it's great to be in Pittsburgh, the Steel City. I have a lot of friends here. Under a Trump administration, we're going to bring back our steel jobs, and we're going to rebuild this nation, so importantly. Before going any further today, I want to address the turmoil unfolding right now in our country. And it seems to be a never-ending problem. America desperately needs unity, and it needs the spirit of togetherness that has not really only got us through our toughest times, and we've had some tough times, but which has lifted us up in the past to our greatest achievements as a nation. Every day I see people of different backgrounds working together for a common good, and we need to bring that spirit to every part of our country and become one American nation, united by shared values and principles as American citizens. We have to do it. And we have to respect our flag. We have to respect our flag. We all have to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, see things through their eyes, and then get to work fixing our very wounded country. I mean, we have some real problems, and we do have a wounded country. Many Americans are watching the unrest in Charlotte unfolding right before their eyes on the TV screens. Others are witnessing the chaos and the violence firsthand. Our country looks bad to the world, especially when we are supposed to be the world's leader. How can we lead when we can't even control our own cities? We honor and recognize the right of all Americans to peacefully assemble, protest and demonstrate. But there is no right to engage in violent disruption or to threaten the public safety and peace of others. Every single American in our country is entitled to live in a safe community. The violence against our citizens and our law enforcement must be brought to a very rapid end. The people who will suffer the most as a result of these riots are law-abiding African-American residents who live in these communities where the crime is so rampant. It's their jobs, housing markets, schools, economic conditions that will suffer. And the first duty of government is to protect their well-being and safety. We have to do that. There is no compassion in tolerating lawless conduct. Crime and violence is an attack on the poor and will never be accepted in a Trump administration. Never, ever. Our job, thank you. Our job is not to make life more comfortable for the violent disruptor, but to make life more comfortable for the African-American parent trying to raise their kids in peace, to walk their children to school, and to get their children great educations. We have to cherish and protect those people. For every one violent protester, there are thousands of moms and dads and kids in that same community who just want to be able to really to sleep safely at night, to be able to walk on the streets, to be able to go to the grocery store. More law enforcement, more community engagement, more effective policing is what our country needs, and we need it quickly. Last year, we saw a 17% rise in violent crime in our 50 largest cities. Homicides are up nearly 50% in Washington, D.C., and more than 60% in Baltimore. More than 3,000 people have been shot in Chicago so far this year from January 1st. Can you believe that? Nationwide, approximately 60% of murder victims under the age of 22 are African American. This is a national crisis, and it's the job of the next president of the United States to work with our governors and mayors to address this crisis and save African American lives. Look at the example that we had in New York of Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who's been a tremendous person for me, a friend of mine for a long time, and a big endorser, big endorser. The policies he put into place ultimately brought down crime by 76% and murder in New York by 84%. Think of how many families these policies saved from the worst heartache imaginable. We need a national anti-crime agenda to make our cities safe again. We have to make our cities safe again. We will appoint the best prosecutors, investigators, and federal law enforcement officers in the country to dismantle the international cartels, gangs, and criminal syndicates. And I will stop the drugs from flowing into our country and poisoning our youth and many other people. And if you're not aware, drugs are a very big factor in what you're watching on television at night. My administration will work with local communities and local officials to make the reduction of crime a top priority. Safety is the foundation of the ladder to American success. A great education and a really good paying job. We've lost so many of our good jobs to other countries. We're going to be bringing them back right here to Pittsburgh, to Pennsylvania. We're going to be bringing them back to Ohio. We're going to be bringing them back all over the country. They're coming back. They're coming back. These trade deals and the people, I think we'll have to have Harold Hamm negotiate a couple of trade deals for us, folks. To have the best schools and the best jobs, you must have safe communities. That means we must recognize the contributions of our police, who come from all backgrounds and all walks of life, and who often thanklessly risk their own lives to protect innocent people, many of whom they've never met. We all remember earlier this year when officers in Dallas, hunted down for execution, continued protecting the public until their last moments on earth. They were killed. Every day, police officers risk their lives for really complete strangers, and in every year, many of them will go out on calls and never return. It's tough being a police officer, and it's hard now even recruiting police officers. It's a tremendous problem. Police are entrusted with immense responsibility, and we must do everything we can to ensure that they are properly trained, that they respect all members of the public, and that any wrongdoing is always, and it will be by them, vigorously addressed. Has to be. But our men and women in blue, and you know this, the men and women in blue need your support. They need your thanks, and they need your gratitude. They are the line separating civilians and civilization from total chaos. They are also the front lines of defense in the war on terror, as we saw recently with their quick action following the terrorist attacks in New Jersey and New York, and the off-duty police officers. I mean, you saw the heroics of the off-duty police officers in Minnesota. An amazing job they did, catching this horrible person so quickly. How do you do that? They figured it out. And within a short period of time, they were able to capture him. I mean, who could do that? That's tougher than finding oil, I will tell you. Right? In addition to providing safety, we must provide economic opportunity, and that begins with school choice and leads to a secure job with a rising income. This brings us to the subject of energy. Producing more American energy is a central part of my plan to making America wealthy again, especially for the poorest Americans. I knew I'd have to make that statement in order to get you guys a little bit enlivened. Well, you'll like the rest of what I'm going to say even more. America is sitting on a treasure trove of untapped energy. Some $50 trillion in shale energy, oil reserves, and natural gas on federal lands, in addition to hundreds of years of coal energy reserves. It's all upside for this country. More jobs, more revenues, more wealth, higher wages, and lower energy prices. I'm going to lift the restrictions on American energy and allow this wealth to pour into our communities, including right here in the state of Pennsylvania that we love. According to the Institute for Energy Research, lifting the restrictions on American energy, including shale production, will accomplish the following. Increase GDP by more than $100 billion each year. That's good music. Add over 500,000 new jobs annually. Increase annual wages by more than $30 billion over the next 7 years. Increase federal, state, and local tax revenues by almost $6 trillion over 4 decades. Increase total economic activity by more than $20 trillion over the next 40 years. In addition, we will streamline the permitting process, which probably makes you happier even than when I'm going to say we're lowering taxes. The permitting process in your industry is a disaster. It's a disaster. Every friend I have in your industry, they tell me it has become horrible with the EPA. So we're going to take care of that. And all energy infrastructure projects, including the billions of dollars in projects held up by President Obama, billions and billions held up, creating countless more jobs for our country in the process. Overall, my entire economic plan, tax reform, regulatory reform, energy reform, and trade reform, will create at least 25 million new jobs over the next 10 years, assuming an average growth rate of 3.5%. And I believe we can reach beyond actually 4% growth. Why not? And just so you know, when China does 7% or even 8%, it's a major panic in the country. They then start devaluing, of course, and they get their numbers up, much to our chagrin. My tax plan includes a 15% business rate. Think of that. So that we're reducing taxes from 35% all the way down for business to 15%, turning America into a jobs magnet. Hillary Clinton would raise taxes on some small businesses as high as 45% and probably even higher than that. And as far as regulations are concerned, it will be beyond anything you're experiencing right now. So you better get everybody out to vote, folks, so you can sort of forget it. And all these jobs that we're talking about will go in the opposite direction. Income taxes will be simplified from 7 brackets to 3. And middle-class Americans will get a major tax cut, including child care deductions and tax-free child care savings accounts. My plan includes the elimination of all unnecessary regulations and a temporary moratorium on new regulations not compelled by Congress or public safety. Overregulation is costing our economy $2 trillion a year. And I think probably no other business has been more affected than your business by overregulation. And one of the things I've seen, despite this massive tax cut, the biggest since Ronald Reagan and maybe beyond that, from 35 to 15, people are more excited when I talk about the fact that we're going to be cutting massively regulations. We need regulations for safety and environment, but regulations are becoming a major industry right now, and we're going to make it a much smaller industry, maybe a minor industry. Your regulations are going to be cut back to a point that you'll be able to have your businesses, grow your businesses, and start new businesses. And you'll never be able to do that with what has taken place over the last 8 years. And I just think it's a very important thing. And what has really impressed me is people in business have actually felt more strongly about that even than the tax cut itself. So I understand that very well. On energy, my economic plan unlocks our shale oil and gas and the energy technologies of both today and tomorrow. Finally, my plan includes a renegotiation of America's trade deals and an enforcement of trade rules to increase jobs and wealth inside the United States. We have people right in this room that could do so well for us. We have negotiators of our trade deals who are political hacks, who are people that don't know the first thing about negotiation. Of course, you could just look at the Iran deal and you understand that. The deal that was made recently with Iran. What a deal that is. I mean, we have half of this room could have negotiated a deal 10 times better, and a lot of the people in the room just wouldn't have made the deal, and that would have been a lot better. But they did something that you folks, even Harold Hamm, never saw before. We thought it was $400 million in cash. Cash, not like a check. $400 million in cash. It was $1.7 billion in cash. And even you've never seen 1.7 in cash, right? We're talking about cash, Harold. Man, they had to take airplane, like this airplane. I don't even see how an airplane, even a big one, is big enough for that. I would like to see that someday, 1.7 billion in cash, but it had nothing to do with the hostages, right? Strong border controls will also protect our workers and save our budget trillions in the long term. It is perhaps the most pro-growth economic plan anywhere in American history. I think it is. Compare that to my opponent. She plans a $1.3 trillion tax hike, massive new regulations, and some of your industries sitting right in this room are out of business, the offshoring of American jobs, and the aggressive restriction of American energy production. Her plan will help only her wealthy donors and global special interests who benefit from the rigged system. And we are in a rigged system. Hillary Clinton wants to put the coal miners out of work, ban hydraulic fracking in almost all places, and extensively restrict and ban energy production on public lands and in most offshore areas. That's what she said. Remember, she said, we're going to put the miners out of work? This will produce devastation for states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, and so many others, where shale oil and shale energy and coal production are critical parts of the economy. And I go to the coal areas, and it's like devastation. And these are amazing people, unbelievable people. Her plan hurts states like Colorado, Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, and anywhere with access to either onshore or offshore energy resources. She also supports blocking the energy infrastructure that's needed to move our energy resources to the marketplace. According to the Wall Street Journal, overall, more than a dozen fossil fuel projects worth about $33 billion have been either rejected by regulators or withdrawn by developers since 2012 only, with billions more tied up in projects still in regulatory limbo. They won't happen either. Now, if I'm president, they'll happen quickly. I can tell you that. Happen very quickly. You'd be amazed how quickly they'll happen. Examples of energy transportation projects blocked or abandoned include an $850 million coal export facility in Washington, a $3 billion natural gas pipeline in the Northeast, and a $6.8 billion liquid natural gas export facility, among others, many others. Billions of dollars in private infrastructure investment have been lost to the Obama-Clinton restriction agenda, and many, many billions more to follow. The platform produced by Hillary Clinton's party this year also calls for a price on carbon. That's just political speak for a massive new tax on coal and shale production, a tax on American consumers. And it's very unfair to our country, and it makes it very unfair and very uncompetitive to do business with other countries. Very. It makes it so tough to compete with other countries. And remember, every energy dollar that isn't harvested here in America is harvested instead in a foreign country, often foreign countries not very friendly to us. That not only means, so true, that not only means that we're sending our jobs to those countries, but it means that energy is being produced in foreign countries that lack our high environmental and conservation standards, which we want to keep. That is just one more reason why we should pursue the safe and responsible production of America's vast energy resources and reserves. We need an American first energy plan. It's going to be, from now on, America first. This means opening federal lands for oil and gas production, opening offshore areas, and revoking policies that are imposing unnecessary restrictions on innovative new exploration technologies. The development of the Marcellus and Utica shale, and I know so well, I'm up in New York State. What a shame. What a shame. We'll fund it. What? You understand. There's probably one guy from New York over there. He's been trying to get at that stuff for about 20 years, and now his clap, he's barely making it. Who's the poor guy that just clapped? You just stand up. Come on, give him a hand. Give him a hand. He's exhausted, but he's still there, right? Will fundamentally change the economic landscape of this region and our country, bringing extraordinary new prosperity to millions, more jobs, higher wages, a larger tax base, and dollars flowing into our country for a change instead of out of our country, which is typical. Hillary Clinton's war on energy will cost our economy $5 trillion at least. She's not only declared war on the miners, but on all oil and natural gas production. It's war, which supports 10 million jobs in the United States. And you people know it's war. It's going to be worse under her than it's been under President Obama. Access to low-cost liquid natural gas also supports the American chemical industry, which supports 40,000 jobs in the state of Pennsylvania. We have just begun as a nation to recognize our economic advantage that is made possible by shale energy. The shale energy revolution will unleash massive wealth for American workers and their families. At the same time, this energy revolution will produce new demand for American steel. And that means the steel workers will benefit. And the steel workers today are having a very, very hard time. That business is going down on a yearly basis. We are going to benefit the steel workers and the steel business. But federal restrictions remain a major impediment to both shale production specifically and energy production in general. Currently, less than 10% of the federally managed surface and mineral estates are leased for oil and gas development. Almost 90% of our nation's offshore acreage is off limits to energy production. In many cases, there's absolutely no reason for that. Our energy policy will make full use of our domestic energy sources, including traditional and renewable energy sources. We want everything. That means we will end the war on coal and the war on our miners. I will rescind the coal mining lease moratorium, which is a horrible moratorium and so unfair, the excessive Interior Department stream rule, and conduct a top-down review of all anti-coal regulations issued by the Obama administration. We will eliminate the highly invasive Waters of the U.S. rule and scrap the $5 trillion Obama-Clinton Climate Action Plan and the Clean Power Plan. These unilateral plans will increase monthly electric bills by double digits without any measurable improvement in climate whatsoever. Very unfair to our people and our workers. I will refocus the EPA on its core mission of ensuring clean air and clean, safe drinking water for all Americans. That's what we want. I believe firmly in conserving our wonderful natural resources and beautiful natural habitats. My environmental agenda will be guided by true specialists in conservation, not those with radical political agendas that are putting our country behind the 8 ball. It will be a future of conservation, of prosperity, and of great success for the people in this room and for all of those people that you employ, the tens of thousands of great people that you employ. It will be a future of new technology, new innovation, and new solutions. It will be a future we can achieve together, beginning with a victory on November 8th. Get out and vote. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.